stop. Before you do anything else today, before you make your morning tea, before you check your phone, I need you to hear this number. £22. That is all that stands between your state pension and a tax bill from HMRC. Not £2,000, not £200, £22. And if you have so much as a modest private pension, a small savings account, or even a part-time job, HMRC may already be taking money from you that you did not know they were entitled to. My name is Mr. Retired, and this channel exists for one reason: to make sure ordinary British retirees never get blindsided by the taxman again. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to show you exactly what is happening, why it affects millions of people right now, and, most importantly, what you can legally do about it. Stay until the end, because the last section contains something HMRC will not proactively tell you: a way to legally increase your tax-free allowance by over £3,000 that almost nobody is claiming. Let me put that in perspective. Back in 2021, there was nearly £3,000 of breathing room between your state pension and the point where income tax kicks in. Today, £22. That is roughly the cost of a takeaway dinner. How did this happen? Two forces collided, and they are working directly against you. Force number one is the triple lock. This is the government's promise that your state pension rises every April by whichever is highest: inflation, average wage growth, or 2.5%. For 2026, that was 4.8%, driven by wage growth, adding over £500 to the full annual pension compared to last year. Sounds wonderful, right? Now, meet force number two, the frozen personal allowance. This is the amount of income you can receive before you start paying tax. It has been stuck at £12,570 since 2021. Not a penny of increase, and it is legally frozen until at least April 2028, possibly 2031. Economists call this fiscal drag. It sounds boring. What it actually means is that the government is quietly collecting more tax from pensioners every single year, without ever raising tax rates. No announcement, no debate in Parliament. It just happens. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates this frozen allowance will raise £55 billion for the Treasury by 2030. A significant portion of that comes directly out of pensioners' pockets. And here is the part that should concern you most. Financial experts are now warning that from April 2027, just months away, the full state pension is expected to exceed the personal allowance for the very first time in history. That means even if the state pension is your only income, no private pension, no savings interest, nothing, HMRC will still send you a tax bill. But you do not have to wait until 2027 to be affected. Right now, in 2026, millions of retirees are already paying tax they did not realise they owed. Let me show you exactly how. Here is the crucial point that most people miss. The personal allowance is not a separate allowance for each income stream. HMRC adds everything together. And the state pension counts first. So after your state pension of £12,547, you have just £22 of tax-free allowance left for everything else. Let us look at what everything else typically includes for a British retiree. Income sources that can push you over. Workplace or private pension. Even a small one of £1,000 per year makes you a taxpayer. Savings interest. If you have more than about £400 in a standard savings account earning interest, that interest could be taxable. Rental income, even a modest amount from a lodger under the rent-a-room scheme, may affect your position. Part-time work, even a few hours a week. Deferred state pension. If you delayed claiming, your enhanced pension is almost certainly above the threshold. SERPs and additional state pension. Millions of people who worked before 2016 receive SERPs on top of their basic pension. This alone can push total pension income well above the threshold. Margaret is 68. She gets the full new state pension, £12,547 a year. She also has a small workplace pension from her 25 years working for the council, £4,200 a year, and her savings account earns about £600 in interest. Her total income, £17,347. Her taxable income, the amount above the personal allowance, £4,777. At the basic rate of 20%, Margaret owes HMRC £955.40 in income tax this year. Margaret had no idea. She assumed that once she retired, taxes were behind her. She never received a clear letter explaining this. HMRC simply adjusted her tax code, and her council pension started paying out less than she expected. Margaret's story is not unusual. According to HMRC data, over 8 million pensioners in the UK now pay income tax. That number is rising every year. But here is what Margaret did not know, and what I am about to tell you. A lot of people ask me, how does HMRC actually take the tax? They do not send you a monthly bill. They are much cleverer than that. Here is how it works. The state pension is paid gross by the DWP. That means with no tax deducted. But HMRC knows what you are owed. So instead of billing you separately, they reduce the tax code on your other income source, your workplace pension or your employment income, and your pension provider deducts the extra tax on HMRC's behalf. This is why so many retirees are surprised when their private pension pays out less than expected. It is not a mistake. It is by design. HMRC is using your private pension like a tax collection point. What if you have no other income? If your only income is the state pension, and from 2027 that means you are above the threshold, HMRC will issue you something called a simple assessment. This is a letter, reference P-A302, which arrives after the tax year ends and tells you what you owe. You then have 60 days to pay. Many retirees who receive this letter panic. Some ignore it, thinking it is a scam. It is not, and ignoring it results in penalties and interest. What about the K code? If HMRC cannot collect enough tax through adjusting your other income because your private pension is too small, they can issue a K code. This is essentially a negative tax code. It tells your pension provider to treat your income as if it were higher than it is, to collect more tax. It sounds complicated. The key thing to know is, if you see a K at the start of your tax code, contact HMRC immediately to make sure the calculation is correct. Now, let us talk about what you can actually do. This is the section that matters most. There are 5 things you can do right now, all completely legal, all HMRC approved, that can significantly reduce or eliminate your tax exposure. Let us go through them one by one. Action 1. Check your tax code. Immediately, your tax code tells your pension provider how much tax to deduct. Errors in tax codes are extraordinarily common. HMRC itself admits this. Log in to the HMRC personal tax account at gov.uk or call 03 002 003 Look at every code on your account. If something does not look right, challenge it. You may be entitled to a refund going back 4 years. Action 2. The marriage allowance transfer. If you are married or in a civil partnership and one of you earns less than the personal allowance of £12,570, that partner can transfer £1,260 of their unused allowance to the higher earner. This gives the higher earner a tax credit of £252 per year. You can also backdate this claim for up to 4 previous tax years, meaning a potential refund of over £1,000 right now. Apply in 10 minutes at gov.uk search Marriage Allowance. Action 3. Use your Personal Savings Allowance. Basic rate taxpayers, which includes most retirees, can earn £1,000 in savings interest per year completely tax-free. This is separate from the personal allowance. Make sure your bank has your correct details and that HMRC knows you are a basic rate taxpayer, not higher rate. If you are a non-taxpayer, you can register with HMRC to receive your savings interest gross without any tax deducted at source using Form R85. Action 4. The starting rate for savings. This is one of the most overlooked allowances in the entire UK tax system. If your non-savings income, essentially your state pension and private pensions, is low enough, you may qualify for a 0% tax rate on up to £5,000 of savings interest. This is on top of the personal savings allowance. The calculation is complex, but if your pension income is below about £17,000 a year, it is worth checking with a tax advisor whether you qualify. Action 5. The one almost nobody claims. Here it is. The thing I promised at the start. It is called the Blind Person's Allowance. And before you switch off, hear me out because this is not just for people who are completely blind. If you are registered as severely sight impaired with your local council, or in Scotland and Northern Ireland, if your eyesight is poor enough to prevent you from doing work that requires eyesight, you qualify for an additional tax-free allowance of £3,250 for 2026/27. Added to your personal allowance of £12,570 that gives you a total tax-free threshold of £15,820. Many people with age-related macular degeneration, glaucoma, or significant cataracts qualify, but have never registered and have never claimed a penny of this allowance. Even better, if you cannot use the full allowance yourself because your income is too low, you can transfer the unused portion to your spouse or civil partner. So, your household effectively gets a larger tax-free pot. Ask your GP or ophthalmologist whether you qualify for sight impairment registration. It costs nothing, and it could save your household hundreds of pounds every single year. I want to be honest with you about what is coming because you deserve to plan. April 2027. The state pension is expected to exceed the personal allowance for the first time. Even retirees with no other income will receive a tax assessment. April 2027. Inheritance tax on pension pots begins. If you have unused funds in a SIPP or personal pension, those will now form part of your taxable estate for the first time. This is a completely separate topic, and I will cover it in full in a future video, but it affects hundreds of thousands of families. April 2028. The personal allowance freeze is currently scheduled to end, but there is no guarantee it will rise. Watch this space. The message is this: the tax system around retirement in the UK is becoming more complex and more expensive, not less. The people who protect their income are the ones who stay informed and take action before HMRC makes decisions for them. Let me bring this back to that number we started with, £22. That is how close your state pension is to the tax threshold right now. It is not a coincidence. It is the result of 5 years of frozen allowances while pensions have risen under the triple lock. And next year, the gap disappears entirely. But the good news is this: if you take even 2 or 3 of the actions I have walked you through today, you can significantly reduce, or in some cases eliminate, the tax HMRC would otherwise take from your retirement income. Check your tax code, explore the marriage allowance, look into the savings allowances, and if there is any chance you qualify for the blind person's allowance, please speak to your GP this week. It could be worth over £3,000 of tax-free income. If this video has helped you, please share it with someone you know who is approaching retirement. They may not realise what is coming. And subscribe, because next week I'm covering the 2027 inheritance tax changes on pension pots. And it is something every single person with a SIPP or personal pension needs to understand before it is too late. Until then, protect your pension. HMRC will not do it for you.